There just aren't enough hours in the day. Does that sound familiar to you? Likely you've muttered it to yourself, frustrated by your packed schedule and all the competing demands for your time. And not just at work, but your personal life as well. If feeling frustrated or overwhelmed and feeling like you have no control over your time is familiar, it's time to learn the skills to invest your time like money. Because when you do this, you'll have enough time for what's most important to you. Investing your time means you look at the reality of how much time you do have available, as well as the truth about activities' time costs. And then you make decisions that'll allow you to get out of something that's called time debt. This isn't necessarily an easy fix, nor will you come out of this course having this all figured out, but we will spend some time looking at ways to begin investing your time. It will require you to shift your mindset, as well as your decisions that you habitually make to determine whether you remain stuck or move forward and decide to intentionally live your best life. I've been working with clients for some time now, and many of them would likely say they have a productivity problem. But I think the bigger issue is that many people have an overcommitment problem. You will end up with massive time debt when you commit to more projects, goals, and obligations than you have hours in the day. Effective time investment begins with accepting the reality that time is a finite resource. Once you've spent it, it's gone. And when you can acknowledge this truth, it frees you to make choices about what you will and won't do so you can invest your time more wisely. You need to invest in your priorities and understand that when you choose one activity, you're not choosing another. It's kind of similar to every time you say yes to one thing, you are simultaneously saying no to another. So we're going to look at ways to match your expectations to a realistic and balanced time budget. I want to introduce you to the time investment formula, which provides us with a mathematical way to understand the relationship between your expectations and your actual time budget. External expectations plus internal expectations is greater than, less than, or equal to 24 hours minus self-care. Don't worry, I'll explain this formula to you. It took me a while to figure it out when I first saw it too. Now, external expectations are standards or expectations that are set by others. Your job, for example. And internal expectations are standards that are set by you. Exercise, hobbies, housework, walking the dog, etc. Now, I've given you some examples on page 5, but we don't need to worry about that yet. I just wanted to give you a brief example to remove any curiosity about what is meant by external and internal expectations. There's two sides to the equation in this formula. The left side is either going to be greater than, less than, or equal to the right side of the equation. So let's explore this just a bit further. The right side of the formula, you'll see that there's one fixed value, the 24 hours in a day, and one variable. This is the amount of time needed for self-care. In this case, self-care is the most basic of wellness activities that you do on a regular basis. Sleeping, eating, personal grooming, such as showering, brushing your teeth, etc. Now, depending on the data that you input will determine whether you are in time investment or time debt. Many people are operating in a time debt situation, as in not enough hours in the day to do everything that's been committed to. So let's look at an example of this variable and how to determine your daily time budget. Now, in this example, I've allowed 7 hours for sleeping, 1 hour for eating, and personal grooming. Let's give it a couple of hours. The idea here is to stick to the basics about self-care. Now we come up with a total of 10 hours for self-care. Once you've quantified the fixed expense of self-care, you subtract it from 24 hours to come up with your daily time budget. Note that there can be some variability in this number from day to day, but the idea here is to determine your sustainable baseline. So 24 hours minus 10 hours equals 14 hours. 14 hours. This is your daily time budget and what you have to work with. Now you need to fill those 14 hours with a blend of both external and internal expectations. And once you've got this data, you can determine exactly what you need to do in order to get a balanced budget where you have enough time for what's most important. This will all make a little more sense once you begin working through the exercises, I promise. Now you're going to do some calculations of your own. You'll need your workbook, and you'll also need to refer to the document in your contents called Invest Your Time Wisely.